The night the palace burned, I was supposed to die with it. I remember the heat first. Alien fire roaring through crystalline halls, turning centuries of impossible architecture into molten rain. I remember the screams in a dozen languages, some human, most not. And I remember thinking, with a strange calm, that no one would ever know what really happened here. That was before I saw her trapped in the flames. I was a human attaché on the Varelian Crown Station, nothing more than a political ornament, a reminder that Earth still existed somewhere on the galactic map. No armor, no command, just a borrowed uniform and a badge that meant nothing when the alarms began to howl. Red light flooded the corridor. The station shuddered as something massive tore through its outer rings. I ran because everyone else was running. But then I heard a sound that didn't belong. Crying. It came from the shattered audience chamber ahead. I should have kept going. Any sane human would have. Instead, I turned back, toward the fire. And that decision changed the fate of two worlds. The chamber was collapsing. Varelian guards lay motionless across the floor, their silver blood steaming where it touched the flames. At the center, beneath a fallen spire of living crystal, was a young alien woman. The princess. I recognized her from Holos, Seralith of Viril, heir to a civilization older than human history. Her skin shimmered like moonlit obsidian, veins glowing faintly blue. One of her ceremonial wings was crushed, fractured plates sparking weakly. Her eyes locked onto mine, wide with terror. She raised a trembling hand, and the ceiling began to fall. I didn't think. I ran. The heat seared my lungs. My skin blistered. I shoved debris aside with raw desperation, ignoring the alien geometry cutting into my arms. When I lifted the spire, it burned through my gloves and into my flesh, but I held it long enough for her to crawl free. She collapsed into me, light and fragile, nothing like the untouchable royalty the galaxy feared. I scooped her up, just as the chamber imploded. What I saw next changed everything. We burst into a maintenance corridor as the station screamed apart. Emergency bulkheads slammed down behind us, sealing fire away by meters. I slid to the floor, clutching her, my heart hammering so loud I thought she might hear it. She stared at me as if I were something impossible. "Why?" she whispered, her translator implant flickering. "You are human." "I know," I said, coughing smoke. "Worst timing, right?" She laughed, actually laughed, before passing out in my arms. But that was only the beginning. The attack wasn't random. It never is. As I carried Seralith through collapsing decks, Varelian security channels exploded with fragmented reports. A coup! A betrayal from within the Royal Council. The Queen herself missing. Presumed dead. The station was falling into the atmosphere of the gas giant below, its orbit destabilized by sabotage. Escape pods were limited, prioritized for nobility. For the first time in my life, my humanity was a liability. At the hangar gates, a commander blocked my path, his chitinous armor cracked and burning. "She does not leave with you," he hissed. "The princess belongs to Viril." "She belongs alive," I snapped. "Move!" He raised his weapon. I braced for death. Then, Seralith stirred, her claws digging weakly into my shoulder. Her eyes glowed brighter. "Stand down," she commanded. The commander froze. "She chooses him," Seralith said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "If I die, let it be by his hands." None of us were prepared for the truth behind those words. The escape pod launched seconds before the station tore itself apart. Through the viewport, I watched a city of light collapse into the storm clouds of a gas giant, lightning swallowing the remnants of a civilization's pride. Seralith woke fully during re-entry. She watched Earth's blue disk grow beneath us, silent, unreadable. "You saved me," she said finally. "I didn't have a choice." She tilted her head. "You always have a choice." Earth was not prepared for a Varelian princess arriving in a burned human pod with a single wounded escort. The United Earth Council panicked. Militaries mobilized. Messages flooded in from the stars. And then the Varelian fleet arrived. They didn't fire. They surrounded Earth in perfect silence, ships like obsidian moons blotting out the sky. Cities went dark. Humanity waited for annihilation. Instead, a single transmission broadcast worldwide. The alien queen lived. Queen Valorix appeared on every screen, tall, radiant, terrible in her calm. Her crown floated above her brow, woven from energy older than stars. "My daughter lives because of a human," she said. "Bring him to me." I should have been afraid, but fear felt too small for what was coming. The Varelian throne world was nothing like their stations, an ocean planet of endless bioluminescent cities grown from coral and crystal. I stood alone in the throne chamber, dwarfed by alien majesty, while Serelith watched from beside her mother. Queen Valerix descended the steps, her gaze piercing straight through me. "You carried my daughter from the flames," she said. "Why?" I swallowed. "Because it was right." A murmur rippled through the court. The queen studied me for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Human morality," she said softly. "Illogical. Dangerous. Rare." Then her expression hardened. "You have bound yourself to us." That was the moment, the midpoint, when I realized this was not a rescue story. It was a binding. Varelian law, ancient and unyielding, declared that anyone who saved a royal heir at the cost of their own life, intended or not, entered a sacred covenant, a joining of fates to ensure loyalty beyond politics. Marriage. Serelith looked at me, shock and something else flickering across her face. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I swear." Earth erupted in outrage. Humans called it abduction. Varelians called it honor. I called it impossible. I tried to refuse. The queen allowed it, with conditions. "If you leave," Valerix said, "the alliance dies. Earth stands alone against those who orchestrated the coup. Against what comes next. Because the coup was only a test. Something older had stirred beyond the galactic rim, an intelligence that devoured civilizations from the inside, turning unity into ash. Viral had been first. Earth would be next. Serelith met me in the gardens that night, bioluminescent waves whispering beneath glass. "I never wanted this," she said. "But I won't force you." I looked at her, at the strength beneath the fear, the compassion that had commanded soldiers while she bled. "I carried you out of the fire," I said quietly. "I'm not dropping you now." The wedding was not a spectacle. It was a vow before stars and witnesses who measured time in millennia. I wore no crown, only scars. When the queen pronounced us bound, something ancient stirred, energy threading between us, rewriting futures. And the galaxy watched. Together, human impulse and alien foresight became something new. We uncovered the hidden enemy, exposed the traitors, united worlds that had never trusted one another. Earth was no longer small. On the day the last enemy fleet fell silent, Serelith stood beside me on the balcony of the Varelian capital. "You're still afraid," she said. I nodded. "Of losing you." She took my hand, her grip warm and real. "Then we are equal." Below us, two civilizations celebrated. Above us, the stars waited. And I understood at last that sometimes the universe doesn't conquer you with force. Sometimes it asks you to carry someone through the fire and dares you to never let go.